Hello, ho, 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 and welcome to a new episode of Talking Snooker with Phil Haig and Nick Metcalf. Once again, talking about the game we all love.
We are. Merry Christmas, everyone. Coming up fast, that big day. And snooker's not slowing down either. Very busy time right up till Christmas this year. So plenty to go on this episode.
Very much so, Phil, and we say from the top, don't we? Congratulations to Lei Peifan. What a stunning surprise winner of the Scottish Open. I was just saying to you off air, actually, could be taking a bit of a fly here, but it seems like the low ranking is getting a bit less attention than Jordan Brown and Fang Zhengji did. But as you said, ever wise, of course, those two are in the books. So perhaps not surprising that when it's done for a third time. But this is quite something. The world number 84, he's the lowest ranked winner of a ranking event since Dave Howard won the Asian Open in 1993. Let's get a word from you on the final then. I mean, two 21-year-olds, Lei Peifan and Wu Yize, Lei getting the job done 9-5. I thought it was a real breath of fresh air. I mean, there was some good play involved and, well, some naive play, I would say, some pretty naive shots. I was thinking of the likes of Mark Selby or those battle-hardened characters we're watching. They'd have been blushing. There was some quite almost getting towards erratic kind of play, but it was a kind of fearless brand of snooker. And we should say it's the lowest combined age of ranking finalists. It's a 19-year-old Paul Hunter beat a 22-year-old John Higgins in the Welsh Open final of 1998. So, yeah, it was not the kind of final we're used to watching, but in that sense, it sort of felt fun, didn't it?
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. There was some good stuff in there, some naive stuff, some bad stuff as well. I mean, we were especially early on was really struggling, which was a shame. He did pick it up. He did make a fight of it and played some good stuff later on, but it was a shame to see him struggling so badly early on. But Lei wouldn't mind one bit, and he was the deserved winner overall, which was a shock because, yeah, Wu was the clear favourite. He's the one that had been talked about and fancied a lot more. Gave Neil Robertson a great game in that English Open final, of course. Um, so for him to lose to the world number 84 in the final would have been very disappointing with the way he played as well. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was interesting. We're always asking for these new young players to come through. So to get two 21-year-olds in the final is brilliant, brilliant stuff. And we'll see where it goes from there. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Jordan Brown and Fang Zhengyi. Their two shock wins at the Welsh and the European Masters. They haven't really kicked on entirely from there. I suppose you might say they've gone up a notch from where they were in the game, but they've certainly not become regular winners or even contenders for tournaments. So we'll see what happens for Lei. We don't know what it means long term for him, but it certainly means a good Christmas for him right now.
Indeed, yeah. And you're right. It's no guarantee, is it? You know, even sort of one-offs or even sort of, two-offs, that's all they can become. There's no guarantee players will go on. We're expecting Wu Yize to be the sort of the player that progresses more in the months and years to come. But we'll be smarter now after two final defeats this season. And it was the start, really, that was decisive in many ways. It was Lei going 4-0 ahead, as you mentioned, helped by breaks of 68 and 71. He did play well. Wu fought back to just 5-3 behind, though, and that felt important at the time, breaks of 69 and 65. And then Wu won the first of the evening for 5-4. But Lei then took the next with a break of 70 and crucially battled to take the next two frames too to move 8-4 ahead. Wu did get one back, but Lei got over the line, a break of 62 in the 14th frame, helping him to glory. Of course, he needed one more ball actually from there, but did get it. And there's a little bit of talk. I noticed Wu conceded that some people think that players shouldn't do that. I mean, it's not that customary, but I think it's not really stopping, Lei getting another decent break. So it doesn't bother me too much. I think the player that wins won't be complaining. They just want to get the celebrating started, and that's what he did. And you see how much it meant to him. It was brilliant to see. And it was just an enjoyable final at the end of another enjoyable week. These home nations deliver, don't they? And another word about Wu Yize. He's obviously so exciting, and he looks to have all the attributes. He looks the part in every way. But as I say, he's been competitive in both finals, but he was more competitive in the other one, wasn't he? He got 7 frames in that. Obviously, against a much better player in Neil Robertson, 5 in this. So maybe the big stage getting to him. I mean, listen, no suggestion of any words of criticism, not whatsoever. But in a way, it doesn't matter what age you are. If he's 21, he'll want to get the winning done soon, won't he? Especially when he sees Lei winning, you think that almost must feel a little bit. That should have been me this time, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's an unusual one because obviously at his age, he's been coming through. Um, he's been regularly the underdog, hasn't he? That's what happens as you're a youngster making your way in the game, and then suddenly he's in a ranking final and he's the clear favourite. So it must have been an unusual situation for him, and maybe that got to him. But yeah, he certainly will be frustrated and disappointed. Obviously, if you'd offered him in the final at the start of the week, I'm sure he would have taken it. But um, we look at we talk about Jack Lisowski a lot and see the six ranking finals he's lost, and they're all against sort of greats of the game, and you think, well, that is what happens when you get to a ranking final. But Wu here has been handed a great opportunity against someone who's never been past a quarter final before. So you think these are the ones you got to take. When you say got to take, I'm sure he's going to get a lot more chances. We all think that, but you never know. Maybe you'll look back on this and this will be a disastrous moment in his career. I don't think so, but yeah, for sure. They'll be frustrated. There were lovely scenes at the Emery, gave him a nice hug, and they had a lovely moment together. And as I said, another final, two finals so far this season is really good for Wu. But um, just because he's young and just because we think he's going to do more, shouldn't entirely gloss over the fact that that is a disappointing result in the final.
Yeah, very well summed up. Well, we were on air, weren't we, until last Wednesday? So, shall we carry on for the last 16 states as we want to do and give you the sort of results from there? Well, Zhao Xintong saw Stephen Maguire at 4-1 at that stage. Luca Bassell 4, Ding Junhui 3. So, Luca gets a better ding at last. It was in that one, wasn't it, that they had that fluke? I mean, it's funny to sort of gauge flukes, but I don't know if you can get many more extraordinary ones than that. I mean, to go around the table once, even if you come off the middle and then sort of hit the ball, it's like, well, that's a bit unlikely. But to do it after then going around once, I found that sort of mind blowing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was, but I mean, I guess most flukes you couldn't repeat really, or you'd struggle to, but you could try that 100,000 times and fail. And weirdly, then can't picture it now, but I remember watching it at the time, and there was quite a big fluke just before that might have gotten a little clipped up and shared on social media, but then it was absolutely blown out of the water by that one just a couple of shots later. It was wild, and to the extent where even Ding was laughing about it, and it was it worthwhile. The viralness was worthwhile. I don't think we'll see anything like that again.
The violence was worthwhile, like that. Chris Wakelin beat Xing Shihao 4-1. It was Wu Yize 4, Barry Hawkins 3, Tom Ford 4, Long Shihang 1, and Mark Allen 4, Jack Lisowski 3. I didn't see it, but I noticed you and a couple of others mentioned that he got really unlucky with a split that just didn't work out for him. And then Allen sort of took advantage. He made a 68 then to claim victory in that one. Nopon Siankam 4, Ali Carter 2, and Lei Peifan 4, Stuart Bingham 3. Well, Lei had just beaten Shaw Murphy 4-3 in the previous round. And this was another win against a former world champion in the decider. And this is the thing. He wasn't just winning matches against really good players. He was doing it in deciders. Breakers 58 helped him considerably in that deciding frame. And then I thought the Allen quotes on Lisowski were quite interesting, Phil. I don't know, you wrote up, what's inside Jack's head. Well, we don't know, but on this particular occasion, it was more a little bit of bad luck, wasn't it? This split didn't go his way.
Well, yeah, I suppose it was a bit of both because it didn't. He was very unlucky, but then it's the decision making next. He was left with half a chance, really tricky one to middle. I think it was right middle that he took on, missed, and that cost him the game. Whereas plenty of other players would have just played safe then, and we don't know what would have happened from there. So it was unlucky, but then that it seemed the obvious way out, especially when you're dicing with the end of the match in the decider, was to take the pragmatic route and just head for Bolt. But he didn't do it as he often doesn't. A great break from Allen, 60 odd to get close to over the line there, and then Jack did that sort of very flamboyant concession where he just rolled the green into the in the black pocket.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was funny, but it showed his frustration.
That's how I get
Um,
that. That's how I can see the next Tony Mio next year. Okay, I mean,
yeah.
already expecting defeat. That's not the way to go into it, is it? I'll just I might flamboyantly throw a ball at you. No, I won't do that. Go on, carry on.
I think it did show that he was he did look a bit bothered. You quite often think that he's not bothered enough, but he did look quite bothered there. So it was a great game though. I mean, he played well. He played well early in the tournament, so not exactly disastrous, but another blow for Jack Lasowski and his fans.
Definitely. And well, it's a blow for Chris Wakelin's fans in the quarterfinals because Wu Yize got the better of him, winning at 5-4, break of 66 on the decider there from Wu. Luca Purcell, who did play a lot better and is talking a confident game and has made small strides in the rankings, but important ones for him. But he lost at that stage, lost 5-1 to Zhao Xintong. It was Mark Allen 5, Noppon Siankam 2. And then Lei Peifan 5, Tom Ford 4. Well, interestingly, Tom Ford made 2 centuries in that match, 2 highest breaks in the match. But Lei got the most important thing, which is the most frames, and won it. And then semi-finals, Wu Yize 6, Zhao Xintong 4. Great scoring in that from Wu, actually. Breaks of 63, 67, 57, 115, and 54. And then, well, I certainly watched the last couple of hours of Lei Peifan 6, Mark Allen 5. I remember I was coming back from work on that Saturday night and thinking, 5-2 for, it's 5-3, but that's probably just a frame back there. 5-4, what's happening? And then I arrived back home and saw the end of it. I mean, I couldn't believe it, really. Not sure Mark could. What a result for Lei Peifan. I'll tell you what, Mark Allen's had a stellar career, almost you'd say getting on for an outstanding career in many ways. But December 2024 will not be a month he wants to look back on with any great fondness, Phil. That's twice now this month. He's lost his semi-finals, gone midnight in the deciding frame.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, I don't know what the odds would have been when he was 5-2 up there against someone who'd never been in a semi-final before, who was ranked 80 places below him in the rankings. But they would have been very long. And it's very unlike Mark Allen, I would say. I know it happened already this month, but you would not, I don't know if anyone would have predicted that from there. I mean, fantastic from Lei, but concerning for Alan because he had a funny week where at the start he was talking quite negatively, said he was really struggling with his game, sort of overthinking, questioning himself. But then I thought he started to look really good, and he was a strong favourite going to the semi-finals to win the tournament, not just win his semi-final. I think. Although I thought Zhao Guidong also looked brilliant and he lost. So it was a funny final four. But yeah, very unusual result. We've seen that a fair few times in the home relations, I feel, the last couple of years, where there's really easily the highest ranked player left in the semis, and you think, oh, they've got it from there. I feel Neil Robertson's done it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
John Higgins once, twice as well, when you think, oh, well, he's a clear favourite there. And then it all goes wrong. And it was Mark Allen's turn this time. But yeah, very unusual.
Yeah, it does feel like it happens in the home nations more than most others. I don't know if that's quite true. I have to look back. That felt like that started a bad run for Neil. I don't know if they were quite connected. They may have been, but yeah, it certainly has happened to him, and it just shows you never can tell. And actually, it wasn't just the final itself. It wasn't just slightly. Mine was 84%. I think I did a poll that fancied Wu Yize to win that. So I mean, people will obviously know that him more, but that was what they decided. But it wasn't to be. I mean, people thought, goodness, is this going to be totally one-sided at 4-0? We've seen plenty of those, haven't we, in the home nations, actually? Plenty of very one-sided, hardly any frames in the evening, all feeling a bit short-changed. It wasn't like that. It actually went on, I think, beyond 10 p.m. So it wasn't a bad. I think viewing figures would have been okay because went on until a sort of decent hour of the evening. But there we are. It was Lei Peifan that got the job done. Congratulations to him. I think it was pretty successful, Phil, wasn't it? The Scottish Open. I mean, the crowds we mentioned when we were last there seemed decent in the early stages. They sort of carried on that way, certainly on the TV table, and I think half decent, as it built towards its conclusion now. Can't think, would this be the third now? The 20, I think it would be. The 21 tournament was in Llandudno. That was in the Ronnie film. That helps me remember. So 22, 23, 24 here now. That's what you need. You need 5, 6, 7 really. That's what we've seen with Belfast. One of the reasons why it's such a great success, that tournament. So it's sort of it feels like it's become a bit like a home now in the last sort of three editions, and yeah, fairly good coverage. I think enjoyed it. Having the sort of usual faces up there on television, usual voices. So the home nations, we enjoy them. It's a Welsh next stop, so that's the tournament I always love. I wrote a column about it last season. That's one of my favourite tournaments. But I like them all. They're not fashionable now. They're not trendy. I use the word trendy on my radio snooker service. Actually, I'm not sure that's quite the right word, but yeah, maybe fashionable is not it because they're sort of they're not even quite a decade old yet, but they're already sort of starting to look and feel their age. Not in a bad way necessarily, but they feel like they've been around for a while. And it's like with all these big money events, it feels like I think a few people are almost getting that bit of home nations. But I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I like them for our game. They bring stories. The finals often throw up, you know, really good matches, really good stories. So yeah, I would say thumbs up from me. What say you, Phil Haig?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, they've got to the point on the calendar. It's just a good advert for the calendar that that not all the top players play in these. That's ahead of a tournament that can't be seen as a good thing for the tournament, but it's a good thing for the sport that these tournaments are 100 grand top prize now. If they're the sort of the poor relation of the calendar, then that's a good state for the sport to be in. That players don't feel the need to go and play in tournaments where they can win six figures. Um, so yeah, I mean that's why they've sort of feel like they might have lost a bit of luster in terms of importance. But it's only because there's been bigger and better tournaments added to the schedule. So it's all positive. Um, I mean, this one especially, as I said, the time of the year just seemed to throw up. I mean, since it's been in Edinburgh, we've had five different names in the final because Gary Wilson's been twice, but it's Gary, Joe O'Connor, Nappon Sankam, Wu Yize, and Lei Peifan. So you can definitely count this as an unusual ranking event where with those names as the people who've been to the final in this venue. But that's no bad thing. Seeing other faces, giving people other opportunities. And did have plenty of big names anyway. They all just fell away early on. But yeah, no, these are still good tournaments. And as I say, the fact that they might be some of the lesser tournaments on the calendar is more of a good sign for the calendar rather than a knock on them themselves.
Yeah, they well stand up as you so often do, and congratulations to everybody involved. Thank you to everyone involved, all the organisers, those that put the tournament on. No mean feat, of course. That was in terms of seeing events to their conclusion, the final ranking event of the season. We got some qualified news to come to shortly, and we thoroughly enjoyed the Scottish Open. And we should say you are listening here to the Talking Snooker podcast with Phil Haig and Nick Metcalf. Well, the latest Saudi Invitational event, Phil, is getting underway. Starting tomorrow, we're recording this on Tuesday, so that it'll be a Wednesday start through until Friday. And lots of the big names there, of course, we trailed some of the matches last time. It'll be live on DAZN here in the UK, but as we understand, everywhere. So if you're listening in Europe, you'll have American listeners, we have listeners in the Far East. It'll be available on that platform. And yeah, Judd Trump, Ronnie, Mark Selby, Kyron. It's pick your star, Phil. We'll be enjoying them all over the coming days as we build up to Christmas, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that DAZN news late in the day. I know a lot of people were sort of right, understandably questioning whether we could watch that or not. I don't know why it took so long to confirm, but it's free on DAZN. And also, we've had the confirmation of the Saudi wildcards in the opening round. Abdul Rauf Sayegh playing Ding Junhui and Ahmed Asiri playing Zhang Anda. Sayegh we saw in the ranking tournament in Saudi. Only lost in a decider to Robbie McGuigan. Um, so yeah, Ting will be clear favourite to win that, obviously, as Zhang will be to win his one. And then we're into the heavy hitting business. If Zhang does come through, he's got Luca, Russell. If Ding comes through, he's got Sean Murphy. And then lurking beyond there, we've got the top six players in the world. So yeah, it's heavyweight showdowns as Saudi have been known for in the boxing recently. And the golden ball, of course, is back with $1 million on the line. It's crazy stuff. Um, whether we'll ever see that break made or not, I don't know. John Higgins famously got the closest last time, but he still was. What did he get to the yellow? So pretty close. It got pretty tense, but um, it's a silly novelty, really. But my word, I would be excited if someone had a crack at that golden ball. That would be a tense few seconds. And great TV, whether they got it or not. So we'll see if that comes to pass.
So the Saudi Invitational is then live on DAZN over the coming days, and there's also snooker, though, isn't there, Phil, taking place here in the UK. It's German Masters qualifying, and well, we've had some decent stories already, haven't we? Bayu Liu getting another win on tour, beating Liam Pullen 5-4. Julian Leclerc, a match I scribbled down here, good scoring from him to beat Jimmy White 5-2, breaks of 67, 1-3-1, and 78 from Leclerc. But I loved Ken Doherty, Oliver Lines, because Ken won it 5-4. I've just been thinking to myself this morning, we're recording this around lunchtime. That sounds silly, really, but he's actually a sort of really good snooker player still, Ken. I mean, he's not got the. It sounds silly. I'll come through his great quotes. He's sort of 55 now, but he's not one of those Ken I was scratching around. He hasn't got the reliability of 25, 30 years ago. Of course he hasn't. But when he's on it, he's sort of on it. And, I think that's maybe dismissed a bit, even in my own mind. He went 4-0 up in that game. Lions came storming back. And then Doherty produced a break of 68 to win the match. And or maybe they're your lines, so I'll let you say them. Go on. Ken spoke to you and came up with some absolute crackers.
Yeah, no, he was in good mood. Actually, he hadn't won a game yet this season, partly because he'd been out with an operation on an umbilical hernia, which sounded quite unpleasant. But yeah, he was in good mood after winning that one. But I think the first thing he said when I spoke to him was, "I tell you what, I'm 55, but I came off the table feeling about 65." Then he said he was playing well, going well, but then he collapsed like an MFI wardrobe. Me and Nick were saying before we came on air that we both Googled when MFI and they'd long since out of business, so there was no libel there. And then he was talking about wanting to retire mid-match. When it was all going wrong and Ollie came back to 4-4. He was really having thoughts of hanging the queue up. But then he said he made an unbelievable clearance to win on the black. I don't know where it came from. I think it came from 1997. So he was on great form. And he's playing again as we speak, actually. He's one game away from getting to the Tempodrome. So that may or may not be finished by the time we're off air here. But yeah, no, great win for Ken there.
Definitely, yeah, and yeah. I mean, you rightly did do due diligence. I guess I did it just out of my interest, and also, maybe I knew we mentioned it on the pod, but yeah, that MFI has got one for the teenagers there, really. We I saw some stats actually of something ridiculous like the number of people that used to have sort of furniture, wardrobes, and what have you from MFI's ridiculous number of Brits back in the day. So it really was a big company at one time. Well, Phil, I know how you like to treat me sometimes. Allow me to take a look at the Vidi printer server. It makes me think of David Coleman, the Vidi printer. It makes me think of a few people, but certainly David Coleman back in the day would be peerless at guiding viewers through the football results they came through back at about 4:40 back in those days. Lucky to get results from 5 o'clock now. Well, let's have a look then. Well, yeah, Jordan Brown's got a frame back. I noticed it was 3-1. It's now 3-2 to Ken Doherty. So that's potentially going to be an interesting one, and that could well go deep. Liu Haoshan is winning 4-3 against Bulshu Revez, and Liu Hongyu is 4-2 up against Farak Ajay. This is all live action scores wise. And of course, from our friends, our brilliant friends at snooker.org, so reliable. Dominic Dale's had a win, beating Zach Surtees 5-3. And the aforementioned Fang Zhengji has also won, beating Gong Zhengji 5-3. And Zhu Se has beaten Julian Leclerc 5-1. So I mentioned Leclerc earlier, but he's out the round after, beaten by Zhu Se. I wonder if Dominic's going to have second thoughts. I'm joking, he won't. He's definitely going to retire, Phil, but he's got a good win there. He's another guy that can still play, Dominic. But he has a few injuries, health issues, unfortunately. But yeah, decent sort of set of qualifiers here. It's quite removed from the tournament, isn't it? I mean, I know people will say this. It's not something I lose sleep over. There are enough things to lose sleep over in life. I certainly won't be doing it over the German Masters qualifying, but it's a long way away, isn't it? I think it starts in sort of late January and goes into February, the tournament, isn't it? So it feels sort of removed, but again, I suspect you and I and we will say that's a good sign of a sort of busy calendar, eh?
Yeah, I suppose it's difficult. You've got to fit it in somewhere, but it's not a great time of the year to be playing. Just squeezed in before Christmas, as you say, long way before. But they've got these and then the World Open qualifiers. Um, So yeah, it's important to get to those tournaments, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it has happened a lot. It doesn't seem as bad this season actually. These are what the set of qualifying where it is a bit different, but the other ones have seen a bit closer. The last couple of seasons they have generally all been a long way away, and a lot of people have said they turn up for these qualifying matches and they even know what they're qualifying for half the time. They turn up trying to win, but yeah, it's not ideal, but it happens. And yeah, it was nice to see Dominic Dale get to the Tempodrome there, and he's what we still expect to be his final year on tour. That is a nice one to tick off on his sort of um, lap of honour out of the game, as it were. You know, he wants to get another showing at that great venue, so that's good. Good for the spaceman, and yeah, some good games coming up. I don't know when people listen to this, but Bai Lu got her win yesterday over Liam Pullen. She's playing Yuan Sejun for a place in Germany this afternoon, so that'll be interesting as well. And plenty more to come all on Discovery Plus over the coming days. This rolls straight into the World Open ones. Actually, this is another thing Ken said. Because he's got his second game today, so this is Tuesday. Then Tuesday night he's jetting straight to Riyadh because he's part of the coverage. And then he's back Saturday night to play his World Open qualifier on Sunday. So busy old time for Ken Doherty.
Wow, yeah, it's busy. Yeah, he'll have a few days coming up for Ken as he balances his sort of two different snooker lives, if you like. His playing side, which is still an important part, as you say. He's unfortunately been out in recent times, but he was well. I say he was chipper when I saw him in Europe. He nearly always is, isn't he? Really? I mean, he's just a. We talk about great snooker characters. He's right up there. I always love seeing Ken. He just puts a smile on my face. He really does. He does it for everybody. He's just so good natured, always with a quip. Saw him say he was driving his family mad with his when he was unwell actually because he was sort of I think he was sort of parked up on the sofa for a few days and cracking gags left, right, and centre. So he was driving everyone mad. But he's back doing what he does best now, which is playing snooker. And indeed, great voice, no doubt. He'll be part, won't he, of the Masters coverage on the BBC next month. So that's coming up then. Well, another snooker line for you. Zhao Xintong beat Ryan Thomason 4-2 to become the first player to win three consecutive WPBSA Q Tour events at the Austrian Snooker Academy in Vienna. Breaks of 1-2-3, 101, and 1-2-4 from Zhao in that match. So he's obviously getting ever closer to getting himself back on tour and will clearly, again, unless something very unlikely happens, be a top player when he is back. And, he's just he's a step above, isn't he, Phil? I mean, look at the scoring. We've seen it for some weeks and months now. He's a former UK champion. He will be back in the game, and I'm sure he's already making strides in the sense of getting back on. When he gets back on, I think he'll make more strides and quickly the way he's playing.
Just seems so, doesn't it? Yeah, it almost seems a bit silly in playing in the Q Tour. I mean, there's some really good players in the Q Tour. Clearly, it's only just below the professional standards. A lot of these guys have been on the Pro Tour and are good enough to be there. But Xintong is a top 16 player, and he's just sort of cutting swathes through these tournaments. Although in this quarter final, he was 3-0 down to Matthew Glasby and came back to win 4-3. So he is human. He can be got at, but he still won the match. But yeah, made a string of huge breaks across the tournament. So yeah, very difficult to deal with. I saw Andres Petrov on Twitter just saying that it's not really helping anyone, him being there. It's not really helping him, all the other players. I mean, it is helping him because it's a route back on tour. So, um, but yeah, I mean, so he'll almost certainly, unless something incredible happens in the last events, he'll take top spot and the card off the Q Tour rankings. But then, Q Tour playoffs still to come, so there are other opportunities to get on tour that way. I get what Andres is saying there. It's not ideal having someone. Um, Clearly so far above the standard of everyone else, but difficult. I mean, I think he sort of was suggesting he should just go straight back on tour, which shouldn't happen either. That would be not acceptable at all. So yeah, it's just one of those things. But yeah, another great win for him. And yeah, I agree. It'll be very interesting. It's going to continue actually because he'll come in at the bottom of the rankings, obviously, when he does get back on tour, and then then the tiered system. That's a nightmare for people who drawing him and people who ranked 80 plus. get handed Zhao Xintong in the first round, and in the tiered system's not great either. But that's just the way it works. So yeah, well done to him, and we'll see continue to follow his progress.
Indeed. I mean, there was some sort of interest for sure in seeing would he have lost it during the time he was banned from the game. You don't lose your talent, but would he have been applying himself enough? Would he have been sort of getting enough practice in? How quickly would it happen? I think it's happened more quickly than most of us expected,
Mm.
really. That's fair to say. And I know I've sort of had my say I think some of the sort of reaction to that. But listen, he's done it quickly, and he's obviously a brilliant player. Listen, when he won that UK, who didn't love that? I mean, it was brilliant. I can still remember the words "A star is born" that night as he went up to pick up the trophy, and I think we're going to see obviously a lot more of him. No question about it, and playing very well. Phil, I hope you don't mind if I do a bit of plugging. My latest Sporting Life column will be a review of the snooker year. My goodness me, there's been a lot to talk about, and that will be available for you to read very soon. As I attempt to sum up what has, of course, been a busy 12 months. Kyron Wilson's Crucible title certainly prominent in there, as you might imagine, along with another brilliant year for Judd Trump, another stellar year for him, one of this game's generational talents, and a hell of a year for Chinese success, has to be said. And I think I've used a line in there that we've been talking about it so long now, this potential domination. It feels like pure cliche, but when you see two 21-year-olds in the final, we just have on Sunday, it feels like a symbol, really, a symbol of a potential changing of the guard. And I've also written about Saudi as well, and some of the controversy about that events going there this year. So lots in there. I hope I've done a decent enough job of summing it up, and I say that will be live in the coming days for your Sporting Life. If you keep an eye on my social media feed, especially particularly my Twitter, then I'll put it on there. And well, we'll have our own Christmas special, won't we, in the coming days, when we'll bring you our review of snooker in 2024. Not easy job, is it, to look back on the year? We'll try and think of some of our highlights. What I always think, when I was looking through it, and I was like, well, the action on the table. I think I said the action on the table was delivered from the start, all the way from that grudge match between Ronnie O'Sullivan and Ali Carter. It was ever thus, especially when I was growing up. Masters was often February, but now it's January. It's often like, was that this year? It's so long ago. It's like, it feels sort of mad when you do reviews of the year. It's a bit like, I guess, the Littler Humphreys World Darts Final. Well, that, of course it was. Yeah, it was actually this year. You know what I mean? It's like a year's a long time, and that feels like going right back now.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the sort of season and the year being different things. Your mind sort of separates the two at the end of the World Championship, doesn't it? So the start of this year and being last season, it can be odd. I always think, I mean, it's nearly 2 years, I suppose, but the idea like Judd Trump won the Masters last year sounds crazy. It
Yeah.
feels like forever ago that he won that. It was only last year. But yeah, even that, yeah, that Masters with Ronnie and Ali seems a long time ago. I mean, things we get a lot of snooker into here, which is a very good thing. And yeah, you mentioned it is interesting. It feels like it does feel like a long time, well over a decade, when people have been saying half the top 16 will be Chinese players, and it's not come close to that yet. But it does feel like we are going towards that. We're now getting towards that closer more than ever. With so many like young, promising ones joining the likes of Ding and Zhao. I mean, even sort of players like Zhao Xintong looking very good, lurking around the edge of that 16. So, yeah, I mean, it's good. It's all good for the viewing figures in the game over there are huge, and their ability to put on string of really high prize money events is phenomenal for the tour. So yeah, it's all good stuff. And this season feels like um, a shift that way. Definitely, there's been so many Chinese players in the 3 out of 4 semi-finalists in number of events. So yeah, it's great stuff for Chinese snooker, and that's good stuff for the game in general.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're both British, aren't we? We're from the UK, but we don't own this sport. The UK doesn't own snooker. It's got a big history here, huge history, profound. But it doesn't mean that you know there is a concern, no question, about some you know young talent from the UK, but we'll balance that out. There's brilliant young talent in China, and this is a global sport as we're always being told, and we like to promote. So um, there we are. There is some. It's been a year of definite progression in a big way from sort of a number of Chinese players. So that column is coming up for you then soon. Well, maybe let's turn a bit towards other sporting matters. That was a good Manchester derby. What a finish! I mean, I don't know where that came from for United. Bloody hell. I'm off to see a League Cup quarter-final this week, actually, Tottenham and Manchester United. Looking forward to that. And the World Darts Championship is underway. But James Way's already out. That's a boo from me, Phil. I've always been rather partial to James. Mind you, I didn't tell you this, actually. I saw an interview, I don't know where it was now, beforehand, when Wade was talking about having his Christmas spoiled. I nearly put it on social media, but I thought, I wish I had now, of course, but would have been a bit mean, maybe. But I was thinking, he was really going into some detail. You want to be off, you want to be with your family, you want to be with your friends. Oh, it's the last thing you want to do. I don't know, this is the right mindset in a way. I'm not saying that's the reason he lost. I'm sure he lost to a good performance from in that round. But yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of a shame. I was sort of quite partial to him. Like to see him do well. But the crowd's getting a bit of stick already. I noticed. You may be filming a bit more on the details of that. By the way, good appearance on the old wireless. And of course, the radio these days means you're in visual. So we can say you've got a good face for radio. I see you. The video. That's the thing about modern media. Bit of a tangent. Sorry. That you can't pigeonhole media companies anymore. Whatever you do, you have to do everything. Like newspapers now have their own television service. It's like it's not really sort of papers, radio, telly anymore. In a way, people do everything. So that was
Yeah.
so there we are. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, no, I mean it's unusual because you don't even know sometimes that I did that. So that was with a BBC BBC station, and that was a Zoom interview, um, which I thought was just to record on Zoom. But then I saw my face pop up on their social media. I didn't even know they were going to do that. So you need to be ready at all times that it can be across all mediums as well, and expect to be broadcast in every way. So no, but that was nice. Yeah, I did enjoy the darts this time of year. Yeah, the crowd is. I don't know if it gets worse. Really, I think it has been like this for a while. It's quite sort of the Scottish players get these anti-Scottish songs. People get big cheers when they miss doubles and stuff. It is quite unpleasant, and it's seen as banter, and everyone just has to put up with it. But it's great, really. I think it tends to be this chunk before Christmas is the worst bit because that's the bit when you just get not really darts fans. They're just people on Christmas dues who um, have seen the darts on the telly and they think it's just there to make as much noise as possible. I think as you get deeper in the tournament to Christmas, and the tickets cost more, and it's more people who just want to go and watch the best games of the year, really. Then it gets a bit better. But yeah, certainly it's hard to imagine. I know they're used to it to an extent, but it's hard to imagine trying to play such a sport of great accuracy in the biggest games of your life in that insane amount of noise and pressure and aggression. So it's very impressive that these guys pull it off. But yeah, I mean, we talk about the shootout recently. If you had like a decibel meter of that compared to what Ali Pali's like, it wouldn't be in the same world. It's crazy stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it was Cameron Menzies that played last night, wasn't it? And he was getting a
Yeah.
bit of stick, and that's I think the majority of the early complaints have come from that, and they seem to be. Were they having a go at him? What was going on there?
I don't think it was much worse than other matches, really. He was in a very emotional state, which people didn't know what that was. Um, they thought maybe it was the crowd. They thought it was because he just played really badly. But he said he posted afterwards on social media that he'd been in hospital with his dad, who's very ill. So I think that was all part of it. But obviously, the crowd doesn't help when you're struggling um, else in other parts of life. So yeah, I'm not sure it was just the crowd that caused him so many problems. But Yeah, I mean, you can see why it would bother people, though, sure.
Luke Littler's playing his first match on Saturday. I noticed seems to be quite deep in the tournament for him to play, but they've got plenty of other attractions before that, of course, in the coming days. And yeah, I saw a couple of comments on the forum actually. Read the shootout, and obviously the behaviour of some fans there. And people made a good point actually. I think that there's probably some appalling stuff being said at the darts. I mean, some of the chants are bad enough, but some of the individual stuff. But of course, it's all sort of drowned out by the noise. Whereas the snooker, and that's why I think we should go more pantomime at the shootout than stag weekend. And I know there's a balance to be struck, but I do accept that point really that the darts is a bit of a mad old free for all, but it all gets lost amid the sort of hullabaloo. But you're right also about the crowd, and how they differ a bit and how the action differs. I mean, listen, I'll keep in touch with it up till Christmas, but whenever it comes back, was it 27th, 28th? I like those few days, and then they've really nailed it for me now. First, second, third. I know they used to have the final on New Year's Day for a while, but I love that, and that helped to build it all up last year. Quarters on the first, semis on the second, final on the third. And that's a real. If Littler's in there again, as we saw last year, or even Humphreys, we'll see it properly build up over those opening days of the year. It's well timed, not much else going on in life. Most people are just at home, they haven't got any money, so it's all, and that's what, to a slightly lesser extent, that's how the Masters snooker works. That's a little bit later in January, but still, same sort of principle. So we'll look forward to that. Back soon with our Christmas special. That's about it from us, I think, Phil. And unless you've got anything else to say, sir, then I've enjoyed your company as ever, and see you next time.
Yeah, no, yeah, just looking forward to. I mean, these qualifiers are very low key, but it's nice to have something to watch on Discovery Plus ticking over, and then Saudi event will be interesting. See those great names involved, and then yeah, it's January is a big time. I remember going into the snooker club I play in Sheffield every so often last January, and it was the busiest I've ever seen it, and it was just after the Littler run and Ronnie's Masters win. And I assumed they'd sort of put on some promotional stuff, it was 2 for 1 on hours on the table or something. But she just said no, it was down to Luke and Ronnie's success. Every board was taken, every table was taken, and had been for some time. So yeah, January is a big month for two of the sports that I love, and looking forward to it all.
Absolutely, yeah. I played Ollie Bell recently in Tooting. Would have been last month now. So like a November midweek afternoon. It sounds like we're just saying this because we're snooker people who want to promote it, but the tables are always full pretty much in all the clubs I go in. Now there are much fewer clubs now, so there are fewer places to play, and that's unfortunate. Let's not pretend otherwise on that one. But the clubs that are there, King's Cross as well, that I wouldn't say regularly go to, but I do go to. That always seems really busy on like midweek afternoons. So people are playing the game out there in numbers. It's not just a bit of spin where we hear Jason Ferguson and others say, oh, clubs are doing well. Well, they are doing quite well. The ones I go into, that two-team one's been spruced up now. It's lovely. Hoping to meet up there with Ollie again in the new year and have a game. So you mentioned snooker in Sheffield there are pockets. I mean, of course, we wish it was like 20, 30 years ago, Phil, when there was loads of clubs. There are much fewer now. But I guess you have the same experience. When we play for the Tony and Mio, these aren't empty clubs, are they? I mean,
No,
Dave Gilbert's place was full up last time. The one in Manchester we played in, I've forgotten the name of. That was great for that one. So, yeah, the ones that are open and are going concerns are seemingly doing okay.
yeah, I think the ones that have survived are good ones, and the ones that are reasonably well looked after, and they've found ways of attracting people, which might not just be the tables. The one I play in Sheffield has turned itself into the bar area isn't just a rubbish bar area that in the corner of a snooker club. I think people do actually go in there for a drink, as well as play snooker, pool, play darts. You can watch games on there. It's actually just a nice place now where it wasn't before. But yeah, I think the ones that are going well are going really well. I actually played in an unusual place around the corner from me the other day, and I've driven past it. Well, I've walked past it a lot. It's a little. It's called a country club, but I don't live in the countryside, so it's almost like a posh working men's club near me. And I went in to see it because I knew they had a snooker table. They've actually got two, and you had to pay for a year's membership. It wasn't a lot of money, and then it's just the old school 20p in the light machine. So it's only £1 an hour to play snooker. Once you've signed up for your annual membership. So went in there with a mate. Um, and it was lovely, old fashioned sort of stuff. There were a couple of old guys up there on one table, and we played on the other table. We got told off within seconds for not folding the table cover right as we took it off. And then I got told off again when I went back down to the bar because I went in through the wrong door and went into the line dancing class by accident. So,
What a line! You say the best for last here. Brilliant
yeah,
stuff.
it's a funny place, but yeah, we'll be going back because we've paid a membership now. But no, no, daft little place.
Give me that line again. What did you get told off for?
Well, it was the way we thought we'd folded the table cover off. We were
No,
doing it
the
properly, but
second thing's better. The second
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. Then that was the first one, and that was within seconds of being there. And then the second one, I went back through into the bar, the same door I'd walked through the first time, but I didn't realize the line dancing class had started since then. So I was quickly told I had to go back through the kitchen and come into the bar the other way, not to disturb the line dancing.
I'm trying to think how many double deckers I'd send you if you got a video up on social media if you're doing line dancing.
I would have been the youngest person doing it by about 50 years.
I thought originally you were going to say a sort of different story that you went in there. They said, "Are you that guy Phil Haig?" But not at all. You just basically got told off by everybody.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of those places that people were nice, but they very much had their way of doing things and did not like you stepping out of line.
Quite right. Quite right. Well, thank you, sir. I salute you. See you next time.
Pleasure as always. Thanks everyone for listening. Speak to you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Keep your thoughts coming. Tweet us at Talking Snooker or email us talkingsnooker@yahoo.com. For now, from your old friends Phil Haig and Nick Metcalf, cheerio.